What did your parents do that you thought was normal, only to later discover that it was not normal at all? My parents used to take pop bottles and can collecting. We'd walk around construction sites in the summer and pick up bottles and cans discarded by the construction workers and turn them in for recycling. It was always unfinished suburban houses, and my dad even used to lower me and my sister down into unfinished basements. No house attached and no stairs yet either. If they had enough bottles or cans, we would toss the cans and bottles up to him or mom. We'd have to grab onto his arm while he pulled us back out with a single hand. We'd end up smelling like stale old beer. Surprised how many construction workers drank on site. But it was a lot of fun, and we could make up to $200 in a single day of collecting. We usually got Slurpees and scratch-off lottery tickets after. It's still one of my favorite childhood memories. It took me a long time to realize my father was a compulsive gambler. The days we went on holiday to Uncle's house versus the day we were pulled out of school to go to the local amusement park. Those were the days the booking was hunting my dad for owing money. Stuck 2 full fingers of Vaseline up my nostrils every day, full blockage to prevent bloody noses. Told me my feet were size 18 and went way out of the way to buy way more expensive shoes to tell everyone I have the biggest feet ever. I'm currently 34 and wear a 13. I had no idea you weren't supposed to have that much room at the front. I actually do wear 18s. I remember not being allowed to wear sandals or flip-flops because my stepdad thought that's why my feet were getting so big. My parents never spoke to each other. Dad comes home from work and they share a brief greeting. After that, no words were spoken between them for the rest of the night until Dad went to bed. A perfunctory kiss on the cheek and a good night dear was it. Road trips? Not a word spoken for 12 hours. Dinner? Only the sounds of forks hitting plates as we ate, and the occasional, "Could you pass the..." Result? I'm freakishly quiet now. It makes my husband antsy, so I'm trying to be more social and vocal in everyday life. That's so weird. Why do you think that was? Are they still together? Do you think they're happy? Honestly, that must have been so strange. So who filled up noise at mealtimes? Or did you all sit in silence for the entire meal? Did your parents speak to you individually? Or was it just constant silence between the whole family? My family spoke at meals times, although it usually ended up with my brother getting in an argument about something inane related to politics or society or how the world is a morbid, corrupt, evil place, and then angrily storming off. But I can't even really imagine sitting down for dinner in silence. Why even bother? My mom put ketchup on her French toast. But apparently when she was younger, her mother couldn't afford syrup. So when she tried waffles with syrup for the first time, she was well into adulthood and thought it was weird. I only eat French toast with salt. My man never had syrup. When I was a kid, we had a special treat for dinner on occasion. White bread, butter, and sugar sandwiches. I thought it was awesome. Didn't realize until I was an adult that we were eating that because we were poor. In Australia, one of our natural desserts is fairy bread, white bread, butter, and sprinkles, or 100s and 1000s. My parents were avid runners. My mother still is. For the longest time, I genuinely thought everyone's parents ran 5 to 10 miles every morning. Make this the new normal. Heaven knows my parents would be happier if they were fit. Eat dinner at 4:30 p.m. every day. They still do this and I don't get it. I am still full from lunch at 4:30 p.m. My mom passed out on the couch drunk every night. Turns out, that is alcoholism. I didn't know it was considered alcoholism to get drunk every night. I thought that was just what adults do. When I lost my teeth, I put them in a jar of water in the kitchen windowsill. When I woke up the next morning, my tooth would be gone and there would be a dollar bill in the water. I would run outside, lay it in the sun, and wait for it to dry. Apparently, this wasn't normal tooth fairy shenanigans. It was a lot of fun though. We had the same tooth fairy, except I'd leave my jar of water with my tooth in it on either the kitchen counter or table. Never received any notes, only $2.50 to $3 in coins. Being an Aussie, our notes or bills start at $5. There was no way the tooth fairy would hand out serious cash like that back in the early to mid-90s. They could sing in perfect 2-part harmony. My mother had been a professional singer and my father was just naturally good. We kids joined in as we got older. I was probably in high school before I realized this doesn't come naturally to all families. Drinking out of old glass jars that we put through the dishwasher. Growing up, I had very few actual cups that weren't reserved for holidays. Now I realize that this was because I was poor. But at least now, drinking out of mason jars is considered cool. My grandma grew up poor during the Depression. She said her parents could not afford butter, so her mom used bacon fat for all her baking. Grandma said she grew up thinking cookies were supposed to be made with bacon fat. Now bacon everything is trendy. Recently, I had a sample of a bacon chocolate chip cookie with a barely perceptible bacon flavor. The price of the cookie was several dollars. Can't wait to tell my grandma. Bacon fat is different from lard. It imparts a distinct bacon flavor. There are also bits of bacon in it. Lard and vegetable shortening have no flavor or color. Try baking something with bacon fat. You will see. Out of curiosity, I tried my great-grandmother's bread recipe with bacon fat instead of butter. Huge difference. My mom cooked a homemade dinner for us Monday to Saturday, and on Sundays, we are leftovers. It wasn't until I was about 12 to 13 that I realized that not everyone's moms did this. I consider myself really lucky for this. Great food all the time. Same. My mom cooked every night except Sundays, when my dad made the one dish he could make correctly, spaghetti. Obviously, we had leftovers every third day or so, but every other meal was fresh cooked. Bless my mom. My parents used to walk around the house completely naked. Till I turned about 9 to 10, I thought everyone did that. Oh, but whatever reason, I was always dressed. My family used to always say the phrase, racked on the junk, when I was little. I always thought it just meant acting crazy or silly, until one day I was 16, with my mind wandering, and I realized, oh no, that means you're on drugs. I confronted my parents about it later, and they said, have you ever seen a toddler say whacked on the junk before? It's hilarious. They're not wrong. My parents are private people. They never told me how old they really were whenever I asked. They never told me their medical problems. They never told me family secrets. I remember my cousin was over and my mother had talked to her privately. My cousin is 2 years younger than me. And later that night, my cousin said, wow, I never knew your mom was married 3 times before. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Found out my dad had PTSD from Vietnam. Won't talk about it. It explains all those violent moments in my childhood, or his moody moments. Didn't find out until I was about 19. Found out my mom had bipolar depression. Again, 19. Also found out my mom is 4 years older than my dad. Also, we call the television remote a push-push. Made for some strange looks whenever I stayed the night at friends' houses and I'd ask for the push-push. There's just so much I don't know about my parents because they don't want to talk about their past with me. Like I can't handle it or something. I'm 27, damn it. I just thought it was normal to not know stuff about your parents, but apparently it's not. My parents were the exact same. They never tell me anything about their lives before marriage. It's kind of frustrating because it just feels so imbalanced. They know almost everything about me and I don't get to know what made them. Like I know that my mom is super ambitious and was really good at her studies, and she had a master's degree and was starting work as a teacher before stopping suddenly. She blames it on my birth as a joke, but I honestly don't know what happened. It's hard to take it just as a joke after some time. Play video games together. I guess not everyone heals their brother who is tanking a boss while your mom and dad stand aside, throwing some mad damage the boss's way. This was later. It began with me sitting on Dad's lap while we played Duke Nukem. I was in charge of the fire the gun button while Dad controlled the character. We would also play Hot Seat, Heroes of Might, and Magic with each other, including Mom. Oh, and Mom and I loved playing Diablo 2 together. That was awesome. I think this will be a lot more common in the coming generation. My parents never really showed each other physical nor verbal affection, and I thought it was completely normal in a marriage. I thought it was something you did before you had children, or as teenagers. Almost vulgar to do in front of children. When I was 14, I was on vacation with a friend and her parents. One day during the vacation, they stood in the kitchen, held around each other and kissed repeatedly, whilst saying sweet nothings to each other. My friend had no reaction whatsoever to what they did, while I was in utter and complete shock. I thought what they were doing was so inappropriate, and something you never did in front of others. Needless to say, my parents turned out to be in a loveless marriage and was divorced a few years later. Only for the best. Bonus info, my parents are now good friends, celebrate Christmas together, and even bring my brothers and me on vacation every year, despite their failed marriage. Same with the zero affection toward each other, which probably explains a lot when it comes to me showing affection in relationships and despising PDA. My parents have yet to divorce somehow though. Found out one recently when I was eating dinner at a restaurant with my SO, sister and brother-in-law. When the family went out to eat, if you really thought something you ordered was good, then you offered to share. As in, anyone want a bite? Taste of this? It's really good. If everyone ordered something different, your plate would become a hodgepodge of different meals. You got to try a little of everything. It made sense. If you ever went back to that place, you'd know what was good. Anyhow, when the food came, my sister and I were offering our customary, "Who wants a bite of this?" My brother-in-law declined and mentioned that he ordered what he wanted, and that we were weirdos because everyone doesn't share like that. I laughed and looked at my girlfriend expecting backup. She, however, agreed with the bill. Turns out my family are the weirdos. Who knew? Sorry, I don't think it's weird at all, and makes sense especially if somewhere where you have not yet been. We had a rule when I was little that we weren't allowed outside to play until 11 a.m. No idea why. My best guess is so my mom could relax in the morning without having to keep a close eye on me. I don't let my kids out until 9. This is intended as courtesy to their friends' parents. My kids would be knocking at doors at 6:30 a.m. every Saturday if I let them. This just reminded me that I did this as a child. It was like 6 a.m. or something, and the neighbor's dad was not happy. Damn. Spoke, and still do, in their own created language that replaces the first vowel in every word with the letter P. They were Indian immigrants, so when I was a kid, I just assumed they were speaking some foreign language. When I was hurt, my family would go, "OMG, we need to chop it off," to make me pause, stop crying, and forget about the pain. They would pretend to get a saw, and somehow we'd all end up laughing. I said it to my kid and he freaked, saying I was going to murder him. Obviously, isn't a normal thing. My parents still say it. I'm 32. That screaming is the only way to communicate. Angry at someone? Scream about it to every single person in the house. Upset over a situation that has no singular person to blame? Scream at everyone about it and blame them. Everything was a big deal. There was once I was woken up on a Sunday morning with 2 screaming parents asking me where the coffee was. It was a 20-minute odyssey of them screaming at me and my sisters as we rushed around looking for the coffee, only to find it was right where we said it was. It's hard to not follow in those footsteps, but it's safe to say I live a quiet life now. I grew up similarly. My father still yells about everything, and his first reaction to anything is getting mad, yelling. And when I'm around my parents, it's still incredibly combative. In my personal life, I never yell. I loathe yelling and confrontation. My brother turned out opposite. He yells all the time, and so does his wife. It seriously gives me anxiety when I'm at their house.